And now for the presentation of the Creative Spirit Award, which began when arts and culture programming was added to Homecoming Weekend in 2009. The award recognizes a member of the Penn community who has illustrated a lifelong commitment to the arts through outstanding personal achievement and/or philanthropic support. I'd like to invite Andrea Mitchell and Candice Bergen to the podium for the presentation of this year's award.
Ma'am. Well, true confessions, I always wanted to be Murphy Brown.
And you are.
I wish I were. Outspoken, a pit bull of an investigative journalist and news anchor, no nonsense, funny, sarcastic, brutally honest to a fault. In fact, someone once called her Mike Wallace in a dress. My classmate Candice Bergen had already broken ground as the first woman to host Saturday Night Live and become a member of the Five Timers Club before she even became Murphy Brown. In her varied career, she has won praise as a freelance photographer for her work as an Academy Award-nominated actor in Starting Over, as well as her earlier performance in Carnal Knowledge. Winner of 2 Golden Globes and a record 5 Emmys for Murphy Brown, as President Gutman said, in addition to acclaimed performances on stage, Bergen is also a best-selling author for her beautifully written memoir, Knockwood, in 1984, and more recently, A Fine Romance in 2015. But for all of her work in print and on stage and on screen, it is her role as Murphy Brown that had Bergen rocking the 1992 presidential campaign, when vice presidential nominee Dan Quayle took on Murphy Brown for supposedly undermining traditional family values by having a child out of wedlock. As the first vice presidential candidate in history to attack a fictional television character, Quayle said, "It doesn't help matters when primetime TV has Murphy Brown, a character who supposedly epitomizes today's intelligent, highly professional woman, mocking the importance of fathers by bearing a child alone," quite a feat, and calling it just another lifestyle choice. Bergen's character finally responded in an iconic episode in the fall of 1992, exclaiming, "I am glamorizing single motherhood? What planet is he on?" I agonized over that decision, telling viewers, in the role of Murphy Brown, of course, perhaps it's time for the vice president to expand his definition and recognize that whether by choice or circumstance, families come in all shapes and sizes. And ultimately, what defines family is caring and love. It is a message that still resonates today in our politics. When she's not being dragged into the culture wars of American politics, Candice Bergen is a notable supporter of the arts and education. Her significant philanthropy includes her support for scholarships here at Penn. Indeed, Bergen's candor and intellect make her a role model for an entire generation of women and men. As our commencement speaker in 1992, she has remained connected to our university over the decades. For all of those reasons and for many more, it is my personal honor and privilege to present the Creative Spirit Award to Candice Bergen.
I'm so honored to have been presented this by Andrea, who tore herself away from giving us all the news. And I'm very honored that Penn has done this. About 45 minutes ago, it was yet another Penn-Princeton game. I was homecoming queen. Kennedy was president. While I was a California kid, I knew the drill. I had a shiny pair of Weejuns. I wore my knee socks. I wore pleated plaid skirts and my crew neck. I drew the line at the circle pin. Acclaimed photographer and lifelong friend Mary Ellen Mark took me to the Annenberg lab and taught me how to print. I did theater under Susan Quinn. I hung out at the architecture school where the dean was Louis Kahn. I discovered the Flemish great masters taught by Dr. Malcolm Campbell, and the organizational principles of society, Gemeinschaft, Gesellschaft, by Dr. Digby Baltzell. I flunked opera, which they said couldn't be done. Penn was, even in those days, a feast, but nothing compared to the groaning board of choices that are offered now. It was dizzying. It was so dizzying, in fact, that toward the end of my sophomore year, the Dean of Women called me into her office and said, well, you've barely made a dent in your required courses and you failed to declare a major, so we would like to wish you success and happiness in another field. At which point I respected Penn even more. 50 years, class of '67, in the blink of an eye. Count your blessings. This is an honor. Thank you very much.